Hello guys, it's Blair Harrison, aka Harrison Productions here, and today we're going to be looking at this. Oh, ring lights in there. This, in case you can't tell, is a Squier Jazzmaster XII Paranormal Series, or the Squier Paranormal Series Jazzmaster XII, which is, well, a guitar like nothing else, as you will see in this video. The Jazzmaster XII is an interesting entry for Fender, mainly because this is, well, I wouldn't say the first, but I guess not the second. It's one of the few instances where a Squier has released a 12-string version of an electric guitar. The first time Squier has done this was about, when was it? The 90s, I think? When, what's that mistake of a human chord again? Courtney Love? They did that weird signature model. Don't know what I was about, but anyway. Now, this guitar is regarded or sought after by guitar lovers. It's because it's the closest thing we'll probably get to one of Fender's most iconic 12-string guitars, the Electric 12. Now, the original Electric 12 was released between 1966 to 1969, so it didn't really live a long life. And that is a guitar I've always been fascinated with. When I saw a clip of Caravan performing one of the songs on a YouTube compilation, or was it a BBC compilation? I can't remember, but first time I saw it, I was astounded. I was like, what is that guitar? Where can I get that? And then, of course, when you look for that name, you see the prices, you're like, can't afford it. And then couple of years later, in 2019, Fender announced they were releasing an Electric 12. Now, obviously, it was a lot different from the original Electric 12, and also it was out of price range, and it was very hard to get because, well, I mean, Electric 12, it's going to run out in like a second. Because, you know, how many offset guitars do you know that's going to be in stock often? Probably know a lot, especially on rare guitars like the Electric 12. this year, to my surprise, Fender released this Jazzmaster XII. And of course, the first thing I thought was brilliant, because it's a guitar I have been obsessed with for a long time. It was released here in Scotland about, I think it was the end of September, at least the shop I bought it from, Merchant City Music. It was released around the end of September. I think it was the 29th. And basically, waited a bit to get my money, and here it is. So let's have a look at the specs, because let's be honest, you all love the specs. And on the left side of me, as I'm pointing, although it probably looks like the right to you, the computer's over there, which I'm looking at the official Fender website. So, what do we have? So the body material is poplar, it's a Jazzmaster body shape, and the finish is in gloss polyurethane with a C-shaped neck, maple neck material with better rosewood. Well, actually no, it's not rosewood, laurel, isn't it? It's a C-shaped neck, and the scale length is 2510. And all the other stuff, but you know, you could probably read. I mean, if you haven't, then I don't know why on earth you're watching this. You probably knew most of that. What do I think of it as an instrument? Well, first off, I've got to say, the construction, really good. I remember when Fender did the Paranormal series about, when was it? A couple of years ago. And the necks were always something I was always put off by. I don't know what it is. For some reason, it always felt more dry, or maybe it was just because of the sweat from walking from the house to the shop. But I always thought the necks were a bit uncomfortable. But here they rectify that. They put a bit of polyurethane on, so it's a bit easier to play. What else have we got? I like this. The bridge saddles. It reminds me of an old Dan Electro I briefly owned once, but I didn't get on. And it feels really comfortable considering it's a 12 string. Now 12 strings are a nightmare to get your head around and obviously grab onto, because obviously, well, it's 12 strings, and you know, you got to really stretch your hands, really. That's one thing I would suggest, or warning for guitar players, is you gotta really stretch your hands. So if you're a guitar player who loves bar chords and whatever guitar techniques that are complicated and awesome, you're gonna have a hard time with this. This is really good for more open chords and power chords, I would say. But I think once you play at it a bit, I think you start to appreciate it. And then we got this unique headstock. I think they call it a hockey stick, but I just think that's cool. And one thing I think might interest some viewers is the spacing between this G string. Now, I previously owned a Fender Villager, an acoustic version, with this headstock, and it was always a nightmare, especially when you got, where is it? This. Especially when you're changing strings. And when I did had, obviously, you know, there wasn't enough space between this and the guitar neck, which thankfully Squier, they rectify that by giving a bit more space, so it will make your stringing journey more easier than it was before. So one reason to try this out. The only thing I think that lets it down a bit, as usual, is the electronics. Now, because it's Squier, the electronics are going to be hit or miss. This is a thing you'll see often with Squiers, and even with the classic vibes. And I usually am a fan of the classic vibe guitars, but I've always said that the electronics are the thing that let it down a bit. So I would suggest if you're planning on getting this, you probably might want to save up a little bit more extra cash for some good pickups. I mean, the Jazzmaster pickups, they're alright, but you do wish you could get more out of it, or maybe it's just the amp from my headphones, because obviously it's a Tone Master amp I've got, and I'm playing through headphones because obviously I live in a flat with very thin walls that are like the equivalent of cardboard, so everyone can hear the conversations and that. So that's really a little complaint. Another thing to watch out for is actually the tuning pegs, because especially this G string here, this is actually a nuisance to tune up. And I don't know if it was just because it was damaged during shipping or whatever, but ever had that moment where you are tuning the guitar and you're just tuning it, but you don't feel like it's actually tuning up, it's taking its sweet ass time. That's what you might encounter with this guitar, so always watch out for that, because you never know, human errors and guitar errors, it happens. And another thing that's annoying, and it's actually my own fault for once, not the guitar itself, is I left this on a sofa, right? As you do, because you know you're trying to, because all my guitars are in my bedroom because we've been having water problems coming here, as you do with flats like these. And basically I left this on a sofa once and it fell, and so there's a bit of this little like, not massive but tiny crack, which kind of shows you these guitars aren't indestructible. So that's something to kind of be careful with, but I don't think you really notice, because honestly I haven't even noticed it half the time until I really put my fingers in there. So yeah, that's something to watch out about. But apart from that, it's a good little guitar. Of course, I will say I'm not the best 12-string player in the world. I'm still learning, but I think one thing, if anyone asks me, why would you buy a 12-string guitar? Well, there's a lot of reasons, but one of my main reasons is to play differently, you know? I mean, how many times have we picked a guitar and we don't really feel inspired and just play the same thing? With a 12-string, I think it kind of makes you think a bit more how to approach a different song and how to play with 12 strings, you know? That's what I love about this guitar. It makes me try to play different from what I have known before. And I think obviously the extra strings do help a bit with your sound. Now the big question I ask is, would I recommend this guitar? I would probably say I recommend to try it out first. If you're somebody who hasn't played the 12 string, maybe try it out first. Maybe like, I don't know, maybe like 3 or 4 times. Because obviously 12 strings are not easy to play, and they can be very uncomfortable at first if your fingers aren't adjusted to, well, the 12 strings. But if you're a fan of 12 string in general, or the music of Roger McGuinn, Leadbelly, George Harrison, Peter Buck, then I think you will have a good time with this guitar. And like I said earlier, maybe just change the pickups and you'll get a far better sound with it. And that's kind of my little review of this guitar. Not the best. I thought I'd put my thoughts on it because why not? It's a fascinating instrument. And I also recommend that if you have the chance and you really want to take the 12 string seriously, grab this before it goes away, because I nearly made the mistake of not getting the exact one I wanted, which was in Olympic White, but I got the blue instead, so I'm not really complaining. So I would suggest try and grab these guitars if you can, because I know for a fact these are going to sell out like cupcakes. Honestly, I can bet you this will probably sell out a bit more because obviously it's a 12-string electric guitar that's actually playable compared to Dan Electro's. Sorry, Dan Electro. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time for another video. Take care, folks.